don't know if they'll be sometimes.
You're from Barnes and Noble?
You were involved.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Oh,
you know, I realized I was here when you were here last.
No, originally, I guess.
Like the mic
yeah.
or two.
Yeah.
Take it as sweet time.
And,
Really
after
like
the meeting, I realized
much
you were,
nicer
so then
facility.
tonight you brought that up.
That's like the whole point of me coming. It's finally to put a face to the name at some point. You know, it's nice to meet you guys. Yes. I'm like, okay, you know, I love Lodi, and you guys were awesome about being so responsive to the programs and like, you know, just a hop, skip, and jump. Thank you very much.
It made sense to be renting all these old
Yes.
buildings all over
Right.
town.
Having people
Right,
stand all
yep.
over the
Right.
place.
Good, well,
So-
nice to
Yay!
meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Lynn. Thank you.
Thanks. Hi.
Where's the good crowd today?
This is it.
I know I was gonna actually have Terry put less chairs out, and I thought, well, then, you know, you get them out,
Yeah.
people show up.
I bet you next Tuesday.
It would be
Yeah,
less.
Good evening. How are you?
I won't be here Tuesday. Yeah, you won't be here. I won't be here either. Yeah, I'll be here. I I think I have one thing that might be on the
I
agenda.
already got one. I said, put money in. They got contracts they're going through or something.
Probably us.
The mayor is still in closed session, so they might be running a few minutes late this evening.
Hi, Lester.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good,
What
good.
you up to?
I don't know.
Yeah, what, 5 chairs next week?
I don't know.
Maybe.
Got a couple things.
Are you gonna be on vacation?
Sporting the
No.
When's your last day?
That's, it's very good.
I think
I was talking to,
Does it feel real yet?
Katie's, we really do that, project.
Oh, yeah. And people say,
I like
hey,
this.
this kind of place
Happy
is always
days to me
right
for my
now.
birthday. It's awesome because you're kind of covered, but it's not
We're
working.
doing that.
No.
Now they're out for school, right?
They're
Well,
out at the perfect
well,
time.
we waited so that they would be out of school.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but the thing is, the week that I had planned to do it, which was.
But I don't want to hang around for the
They
next
had
10 years to
something
see how the
going on
bond turns
all
out.
They do.
week. So we had,
No, you say you don't.
I don't.
Posted.
I don't want to hang around for the next 10 years.
It doesn't have to be 10, only 5. Just take care of me, forget her.
I'll take 4. Are you Friday?
I'm thinking 5 is the max, 3 might be it.
Okay.
Let me find out. I'll
I
find
should
out and let
really
you
go
know.
and check it
Yeah,
out.
I'm not-
I'm a little confused.
62 and 30 is.
I don't know.
I'm
I
not
don't know.
so I'm not gonna be 60.
Well, I'll never make 30, but I'm gonna hit 62.
or 30 years.
Well, you're
That's-
25.
But I can,
I should
You
make
get
sure
25.
that flyer.
Well, I'll have 16 in. I started late. I did a lot of other things
but
first.
I can get credit for all my
I know.
sick leave, can't I?
I think
If I make it 62.
I think there's a cap on it. Well, if you're 61, you have a year's worth.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah.
See how we get.
There we go.
Just for a bit. Had a meeting.
No,
for lunch, so-
But you were a teacher. Mine was the health. I feel like I don't know your background.
I'm not a computer car, so I have the surround sound, the climate control.
So what's the portion of that burger?
Such a
It
spoiled
feels
brat.
too sporty.
It's nice, but it's not, you know, for 2.5 hours.
That's why the GT3 went. Because we can hear each other talk, and you're bouncing along, you have to check your feelings. So
So she was at the cherry
I always
stand,
have, that's always
the little lady back there.
Lori takes care of me, she does it all.
Cracked it up.
Puts it in a folder, prints it, you know, takes good care of me.
Enterprise picked her up and said, what do you want? She took
Everything's
the cute there.
I just need to see one.
Hilarious.
1,200
Oh, I could totally see her driving
440
that.
horsepower.
She's ready to trade the
And the
comparison.
visibility of a Civil War submarine.
She is hilarious.
Oh my goodness.
Cracks me up.
So she finally let me take it to work one day. She goes, you know, this is pretty fast. I'm thinking, you got passed by a rickshaw on Fisherman's Wharf. So you're worried about me going, it was pretty crazy. Brand spanking new. Second people that ever read it.
Wow.
I still think I would rather have the Shelby.
You know, I was sad we should run it home and I took it away.
Yeah, it is. That's the thing.
It's okay, all the bodies are in.
Yeah, I did notice it was very. Thank you, sir. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, hi, Bonnie.
Can you call me right back and I'll re-answer?
Sure.
Thank you.
What is yours? He's gonna be losing speed. He lives in Fort Worth. Yeah. I wrote my little card.
Hi, Lynn.
Hey, we're on.
Okay, thank you.
If not, just kick me.
You see me jumping up and down, right?
Todd will throw something at me. Please, you feel how the air conditioner finally works?
Yeah.
Would you mind?
Well, I will offer mine up for,
No, it's fine, I'll shut it off. I just like to ask you.
which one's that? Oh, yeah, you're right.
Okay, we're all here. Bonnie, you're with us?
I am.
Oh, very good. I didn't see the redial.
Are you unmuted?
Yes, I am.
Right.
Alrighty. Oh, sorry. Hit the microphone. I'd like to reconvene our school board meeting of June 20th, 2017 from closed session. I do need to announce that the meeting is being teleconferenced with board member Bonnie Castle, who is in Ashland, Oregon.
Where it's 43 degrees.
Yeah, that's not fair. All right. Kelvin. We have roll call. We have 7 present, and if you would all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, at this time I'll report from actions at closed session. As soon as I can find my, oh crikey. I think I, oh, here it is. No, that's not it.
He's got to use his little dimensions on it.
I stuck it in my briefcase so I wouldn't lose it. Hang on. Okay. We are a paperless society, by the way. Alrighty. On placement of non-public school students, Darrell Talkin motioned, George Neely seconded, and the board approved the placement of non-public school students 2016-17, student number 98 by the following vote, 7 ayes. Conference with legal counsel about existing litigation claim number 512431. Darrell Talkin motioned, Joe Nava seconded, and the board voted to approve the settlement of claim read by the following vote. Ayes 7. Under personnel matters for appointment, continuation high school at Plaza would be Yuri Pennerman. Joe Nava motioned, Gary Knickstead seconded, and the board approved the appointment. Effective date to be determined by the vote of 7 ayes. Appointment of Chief Business Officer Leonard Kahn. Ron Freitas motioned, Joe Nava seconded, and the board approved the appointment. Effective date to be determined by the following vote, 7 ayes. And that's it. That is it for closed session.
We'll also in closed session with declared summer rules. So, gentlemen, you do not wear ties or sports coats. So, Mr. McCain.
If you so
With pleasure, Mr. Freeman.
if you so choose, you may be comfortable.
All right, sit down now.
There you go. I'm impressed, it's not a clip-on.
Wow.
Didn't have to ask him twice.
It's not a safety tie. All right. We now have the superintendent and staff report. Dr. Washer, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Heberly, members of the board. We are welcoming back Mr. Joey Travolta and his crew of Inclusion Films. We might have a picture there to show you, not quite sure. They have started their next camp, which is entitled Camp Kindness. That's not Mr. Travolta. Okay, so we don't have a picture yet. The theme for their movie is Random Acts of Kindness. They have another group of students, both special education and general education students working together. They are over at Needham West this week. If you have time, you might want to pop on over and see what they're doing. This is going to expand into a large effort for Inclusion Films and Lodi Unified School District. Mr. Travolta has garnered several large sponsors for the effort, including some media avenues to promote the idea of spreading kindness as a national effort. So it's going to start here with us in Lodi Unified and take root here and turn into something that's much bigger than just Lodi Unified. So we're excited to see what will become of that. We'll keep you posted and invite you to any events that they have. So now we can show you the picture of our Sherry Balin. She was recognized by the Delta College officials for her work with Middle College High. She received an honor from the board as she is retiring, and they wished her well, as we did as well. And she has really been an advocate for the Middle College High program. She served as the president of the organization, the national organization for Middle College High programs. So she has really been an instrumental part, not only for Lodi Unified, but for Delta College. So I just want to show you that they also recognize her efforts and wished her well. That's it for tonight.
All right, thank you. All right, at this time we are at comments from the public. We have a 20-minute time period that's been set aside for the public to address the board on items not listed on the agenda. Each speaker shall limit his or her comments to 3 minutes. You are also welcome to distribute materials to the board and or staff. Due to restrictions imposed by the California Brown Act regarding discussing topics that are not on the agenda, board members may not engage in dialogue about the issue. So I have one request, and it's a familiar name and face. So Rebecca Ray, would you please come to the podium? Thank you in advance for coming.
Thank you for being so kind and having me here, starting off your kindness. I don't think this is, I don't know if it's on.
Let me turn it up a little bit. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
So good evening, board members and Dr. Washer. Thank you for having me. My name is Rebecca. I'm the Community Business Development Manager for Barnes & Noble in Stockton. I just want to let the board know that we do offer students grades 1 through 6 an opportunity to receive a free book, and there's no strings attached. It's with our summer reading program. Students grades 1 through 6 receive a free book once they've read any 8 books. It could be from home, from the library, from community centers,
and they turn the journal back into the store to choose their free book. I'll email you all a PDF in English and Spanish of the summer reading program, and that goes all the way through September 5th. So please encourage students to continue reading. Our story times continue all throughout the summer months. We have 3 different story times. We have Thursday and Saturday at 11 a.m. and bilingual Spanish story time every Sunday at 2 p.m. Spot the Dog character from the beloved storybooks will be making a special visit to Ansel Adams Elementary School for literacy night at the site. This is a great time for students to see their beloved storybook characters come to life, and that's going to be September 22nd, the first day of fall. And then additionally, Cat in the Hat is also making a special appearance at Barnes & Noble for a storytime event in store on Saturday, July 22nd, and all are welcome to attend at 11:30 a.m. Clifford, the big red dog, is available for a literacy event at any of your sites on August 18th. So if you ever wanted to do some sort of thing with Clifford and kindness and animals, we could certainly tie that in. So please contact me. We invite all Lodi USD pre-K through 12th grade teachers, administration, principals, and all school staff to visit our store this summer to receive their 20% educator discount. And we know teachers love to read, but this also includes all other items in the store. So please feel free to reach out to me for personal assistance. Additionally, I'm here to assist all of your sites with their ordering needs for the 2017-18 academic school year. And I know you're on a modified schedule and that school does resume back on July 31st. So if you'd like me to place orders for any textbooks or anything to support your curriculum or instructional needs, I'm happy to do so and store it in my store and then be ready to deliver, anytime. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and we really thank you for being, great supporters of our store. And you could just think of me as an extension of, all of your schools. So I feel like the bookstore and schools are places of aspiration, and that we complement one another. And we look forward to your continued business in 2018. So thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much for your involvement with the district. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes,
Rebecca, before
Rebecca?
you leave, thank you very much for your leadership in Barnes and Nobles and having this opportunity for these K through 6 of the book.
Grades 1 through 6. It did go to the superintendent's office for review to be distributed to sites, but they said no. Others, Stockton and Lincoln Unified, have accepted that for distribution, but Lodi did turn it down. They wanted a disclaimer, and I'm not able to change any of the corporate communications, but I do have PDFs, so if you nonchalantly hand out these, journals to students, that's great, or they can just come into the store and pick one up, so not a big deal. I just want kids to read, that's it.
Right, thanks again. And
Thank you.
Thank you for helping the staff also.
No problem, my pleasure. Okay, thank you.
I have no more cards. However, I will open it up to the public. If anyone would like to address the board, please come forward. Yes? No? I know. Just kidding. All right, very good. We will move on to our consent agenda A, which is routine business. Are there any items that board members would like to pull from the agenda?
Yeah, yes, sir, I would have to pull item number 2, I believe it is, consent, item A3.
A3 is contracts. Okay.
Just for a few brief questions.
Any other board members want to pull any item? Members of the public, would you like to pull any items from the consent agenda at this time?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the rest of routine agenda 8.
Second. All right, been motioned by Mr. Nava, seconded by Mr. Freitas. We will be doing a voice vote because of limitations of technology, not within this building, however. So, Mr. Freitas.
Aye.
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 Bonnie?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm also an aye, 7 ayes. So consent agenda A, with the exception of A3, passes. Mr. Neely?
Thank you, Mr. Everly. Real quick, if we can take a look at item A3, number 2 on there. Can you bring that up? That's an agreement with a law firm to provide professional legal services for review of district policies and procedures for 17-18 up to $100,000. You know, I thought we were using CSBA to do that for us.
Mr. Neely, members of the board, we use CSBA to get updates on their recommended suggestions and revisions. They are sample policies. We are not using them to provide a specific service for Lodi Unified to review our policies and help with our specific policies. What we use them for is what they send to all school districts who subscribe to that service, which is their updates that they're suggesting. So they're more generic.
Just a suggestion, maybe we look at them to see if they do, I'm opposed to proof. Not the issue there.
Yeah.
But maybe we could look at them as being able to do that. And then as if we can get something going like that with CSBA, it could save school districts a lot of money, and then your updates would be automatically come on top of that. So that's one point. Second question I have, Ms. Kotowski, item 6 for the CANSAT and the high altitude balloon programs. Does that include that $182,000? Does that include all the materials for this program?
This is all of the materials that are,
So
this is the professional development piece of it. The materials cost about $40,000. I'm sorry, should stand up.
I don't care, I'm fine, it's summer.
Summer, good, I can wear my shorts next time. So no, it's not the complete contract. The materials are on a separate order. This is their professional development.
I really hope you say that include materials. You know, materials are only about $40,000. $182,000 for 2 days of professional training seems rather steep.
It's not actually 2 days of I'm sorry, Mr. Neely. It's working with our elementary school, our 6th grade elementary sites. There's 6 of those, our middle school teachers and our high school teachers from the beginning of August until the balloon launches in the springtime with the rockets. And so it's a continuous professional development.
Yeah, okay.
Let me ask you that too. So we've also seen photos that have come to us at the meeting
Yes.
on PowerPoints. And it seems like they're the same individuals that are assisting with the launches. Is that who kind of we're paying for also, or?
There are 2 owners, and then they've hired some of our graduating staff from Lodi High to be assistants with them, and they have other staff from like Stanford and Berkeley that are part of their staff, and they work with our teachers and our students.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Okay, I will move to approve.
All right.
A3.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Tolkien seconded. Excuse me. We'll start with you, Bonnie.
Aye.
All right, Ms. Freitas?
Aye.
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 And I'm also an aye, that'd be 7. All right, very good. We are now on consent agenda B, which is student discipline cases.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, Mr. Neely made the motion, Mr. Tolkien seconded. Bonnie?
Aye.
Okay, Ms. Freitas?
Aye.
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 And I'm also aye, that'd be 7. All righty. We are now on other action items. And the first one would be the LCAP, Ms. Kotowski.
We're bringing forth the revised LCAP for this year to the year 2020. Does that make sense? For your approval, we had our public hearing at our last board meeting. We have not made any changes.
As previously presented.
Yes.
All right. Any questions or comments from the board members?
Real quick, a couple of here. On page 26, we talked about providing an English language development institute during summer school, but we were unable to do that
Right.
because of lack of personnel. What measures, what steps did you take to locate people to do that?
We contract with our high school teachers, because usually this would be our high school students that are on the border of being able to be reclassified. And we have some of our English language development teachers that would be interested in it, but generally I've only been able to get one at one point in time to commit, and a different one at a different point in time to commit. We need at least 2 to do it.
Did we try adjoint?
No, we have not gone outside of the district for that.
Do you think maybe we should? That seems like a rather important thing to do.
I think we could do that. I'm not sure. I'd have to defer to Mike on that. Would you see a problem with us going out and doing for that?
This is new to me. I don't really,
It's like a
What is
summer.
It's like a summer school teacher.
Like a summer school teacher.
have we advertised internally?
Yes.
Didn't get interest.
Didn't get any.
As long as we made it available to all the members, if nobody wants it, we can go outside.
So it could be an adjoint.
Yes.
Yeah, and we could probably start on that, like in February, March timeframe, to get it out there, so that people can maybe make plans on and do something like, because I think that would be, I'd like to see even more things like that for some of our Title I schools and our borderline students. A meaningful summer engagement program that would keep them involved in the schools. Maybe that's something that we can take a look at. The next thing is on page 27. It talks about special education services. The actual, I just have and I would just like you to take a look at this, okay? I'm going to vote to approve this, you know, but the plan and the actual on that, I wonder if a little more explanation on the actual might have been in line here. Some of the items we did not meet our goals on that, and we need to be open and upfront about that and talk about it. And finally, on page 36, we talked about, even though we had no red or orange, which is true, that's absolutely correct. There are 3 categories in yellow. Suspension, English language arts, grades 3 through 8, math 3 through 8. And it says the district will monitor the 3 areas to ensure improvement. Well, actually, you might want to kind of think about what we want to do besides monitor. You know, maybe a little more definition on what we're actually going to do on it. And I'm further concerned about down below, African Americans, ELA, and math. Math, they were, if you look at the dashboard, they're actually well below, and they decreased. There's a decrease in the percentage there. So it was the only one that did, although I think free and reduced one, the poverty, I think economically disadvantaged, I don't think we did well there either, so I think we need to take a look at that. That's the only comments I'm got on this. Other than I hope that next year we do a little bit better job in gaining information. And I'd really like to know what the plan, how that's going to be. Maybe you could actually kind of run through one before we have one out in the field.
All right, thank you. Any other board member questions, comments? Members of the audience, questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approved item 08I-1.
Second.
All right. Mr. Nava motion, Mr. Tolkien seconded. Bonnie?
Aye.
Mr. Freitas?
Aye.
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 And I'm also an aye, that'd be 7. Next item would be the budget adoption, Mr. Hearn.
Thank you, President Everly. Members of the board, I did provide to each board member a pocket budget as we started to do last year. This one is in draft because we know there's going to be some changes very soon, especially when after the next item. So this is in draft form still at this time, but we printed off a few so that you can get a sense what we're doing.
This is great.
This is really cool. Wish I had a pocket.
Okay, next meeting, Mr. Freitas will wear a suit.
I will have because it will be 70 degrees.
Well, a lot of it is also that this really makes it understandable and something people can, kind of grab onto. So, and that's all part of that communication that really helps a lot.
Yeah. Tim, are you going to provide these for general distribution?
Oh, yes, we do. We have that, and we use it for various activities and so forth, and have them available. As I said, though, we only printed a few because there's going to be some minor corrections to expenditures, and then I did give you a sense of ending fund balance, and we will correct those numbers, but there's going to be some minor changes.
Now, with the LEA agreement on tonight's agenda. Once that's approved, then you're going to vacate that reserve. So with that money for this year, will they get paid out of this year's funds?
The 16, 17?
16, 17, or is that going to be 17, 18?
We most likely will accrue those dollars into and have it shown paid in the correct fiscal year. We actually had a fairly lengthy meeting about that this afternoon on how we're going to accomplish that, but we believe we'll be able to do it. So you will get the various budget documents that you normally get at the budget meetings that will do the transfers into the correct years and so forth.
Oh, you got a lot of work ahead.
Yeah. You're not gonna be everybody in time.
We're on it.
And all that, and all that's included in that, what is it, AB 1200 or something?
Yes, you're also going to eventually get the AB 1200s that have to go to the county for approval and so forth. So you get to look forward to all that documentation.
Thank you, sir.
It's good.
No, I love that.
It's good reading.
It's good.
He actually.
So we present to you, as we had in the last board meeting in public hearings, the approval for the adopted budget.
Okay, again, as previously presented. Board members, questions? Audience, questions, comments? Yes, please.
When does your budget go through? Is it July 1st? Is there a timeline? Is it July 1st is usually when it's?
The fiscal year for the school district is July 1st through June 30th.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve item 2 on the.
Thank you, Mr. Nava. Is there a second?
Second.
I heard two. Who was it?
Down.
Oh, okay. We'll say Mr. Connexted, because I like saying his last name. All right, we'll do a voice vote. Ms. Castle?
Aye.
Mr. Freitas?
Mr. Hearn, for your last budget for the district, it's a beauty, and I looked at every single page, and thank you very much, and I vote aye.
Thank you, Mr. Freitas. And by the way, this is number 27.
Wow. Aye. Save the best for last.
Mr. Neely?
And before I vote, I'd like to say, Tim, thank you so much for everything you've done. Really made an impact on the district. We're going to miss you.
Thank you.
With that, it's aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
And I also vote aye. That'd be 7. Mr. Hearn, thank you as always.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And of course, we want to thank the budget staff for doing such a great job.
And you do have a good staff. All righty. Next up, Mr. McKilligan, ratification of contract.
You have before you the LEA tentative agreement, which has been ratified by the association, is now before you for approval.
All right. Board members, any discussion? Audie? Yes, Mr. Neal.
Michelle, I want to thank you, and I want you to relay to your people how much we appreciate. I know it's a matter of trust that you guys are putting in this district. It's a big deal. It's a big step that we're going to make together on this. And I want to let you know that we'll do everything in our power to make sure that happens. So spread the word. We're very happy. We're very thankful about it.
I also have a comment. Yes, it is definitely a matter of trust, and I do not believe at all that trust will be misplaced on our end. I think we're here to work together and offer that empowerment to help us lead the district, and it is exciting to have this step done, and then now some other work's going to start. Any other comments from the public?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve item 3.
Thank you, Mr. Nava, and Mr. Tolkien seconded. Bonnie?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
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 And I'm also aye, that'd be 7. Alrighty, that takes us up to personnel matters. I want to hear it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. McKilligan?
Mr. President, routine personnel matters are presented for your consideration.
Thank you. Yeah, okay.
Second.
We have Mr. Neely motion, Mr. Tolkien seconded. Bonnie?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
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 And I'm also aye, that'd be 7. All right. thank you so much for that. And we are at communications, comments from employee groups. Michelle, come on up. Wait a minute, I think you're the only one.
I think I'm it.
Yeah. Well, you're the best one.
Oh, thank you. It's all right. Right, like I told my children, you're my favorite oldest child. Or youngest, as he just graduated. Good evening, President Heberly, members of the board, Dr. Washer. We are in summer mode, which means many of our members are already at work planning for next year. Our Facebook feed has been filled with working in their classrooms, redesigning, redecorating, moving to new locations. With the tentative agreement now ratified, we are optimistic for a more collaborative model where Leah and the teachers will have a venue to give more impact and input into how the classroom works, what happens with students. We also want to thank Dr. Washer for meeting with LEA members regarding the ELD checklists, and it's been positive feedback from those members that spoke with you, and they are optimistic that maybe this next year we can really do something about that beast. And they did bring up at that with their phone calls to me about that they'd like to see more ELD training. They pointed out on the venue for professional development that there wasn't a choice for ELD. And with two of those members that met with you being very entrenched in ELD, and that is their focus and soapbox that they stand on. They were concerned that there wasn't anything, especially for new teachers. They would like to see where the rollout was of the ELD designated sheet, something they designed 2 years ago. So I was asked about that. I do have some concerns going forward, and I just kind of want us all to be on the same page. As with the ratification, we have received some information about the plan and about our TOSAs. If you know our TOSAs, they range from technology to ELD to each particular subject area. If there is a change coming in their staffing and their job, we would certainly like to sit down and talk about that as it goes to the future. And they have a desire to speak with you as to what the gamut of their duties are, everything from the professional development they do at the beginning of the year through the continuous support of teachers. So that is something I'd like to relay to each of the board members, that those TOSAs are concerned about any change in how we are servicing our students, our teachers, and how that affects each classroom in the next couple of years. So, welcome to summer. You will see a couple of different faces for Leah during summertime. I think you've met Amy Remzar, who is our new vice president, and we will be switching turns as I go to represent the teachers at the National Representative Assembly in Boston, Massachusetts this summer. So I will wish you a fourth from Boston, home of independence. So thank you this evening.
Thank you. And for the record, it's called Boston.
I can't say that. It's the California kid.
Yeah, very good. They'll love your California accent. Alrighty, that takes us, any other comments from employee groups? Okay, very good. Comments from board members?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Mr. Connect.
I get a feeling that Mr. Nod and Mr. Price also look at the same thing. Am I right, Joe?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I actually attended, gentlemen. So
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Thank you for attending.
Yeah. Well, what we're referring to is the All-Star Prep that was posted in the Stockton Record. And for my part, I was in the mission, there was 44 Lodi Unified School District athletes, if I count them right, nominated for Athlete of the Year, and we had 14 that were in fact athlete of the year in their sport. And one notable one was Mr. Matthew Orgon in water polo. So, and we had one team, Tokyo High School girls wrestling team. Also, their coach was coach of the year. So that's another pretty nice accomplishment. I don't know. I just think that it just demonstrates what great kids are. We have involved in athletics, and the coaches and the teachers that were involved. It's just a positive, lifelong learning experience for those kids. And this is just the cream of the crop that everybody involved in athletics, in my opinion, gets a lot out of it. So it's just another thing I'm glad our district is heavily involved with and invested in.
Thank you, Mr. Fred.
Yes, and I got to meet Matthew and Michelle, my wife and I, as we were going to attend, but what an outstanding event and what an outstanding representation of our Lodi athletes. And you talk about representation. All-star winners, for example, we had in girls badminton, we had Jasmine Tran from Bear Creek High School. Girls track and field, Jahala Bryce Moore from Bear Creek. Girls wrestling, Tino Malawi. Remember, she was here singing for the choir from McNair. Girls wrestling, girls swimming, Gianni Tito from Lodi. From boys golf, Justin Guns, he was the winner for the Tri-County area. And boys badminton was Sunday Aguada from McNair. Boys cross country, Aldo Perez, Tokay, and the Tokay cheer team, I believe, also won. So that was announced on my paper. But going one step further, they had 4 major awards: Outstanding Male and Female Athlete of the Year, and Outstanding Male and Female Team. And 2 of those were from our district.
That's right.
So we had Daisy Contreras won Female Athlete of the Year. She is a senior at McNair. She won for her 3 sports that she plays. 2 of them were in the same season, soccer and basketball. So it was not unusual for her to run an entire soccer match and then Gatorade up and then go play a basketball game. So, and she's going somewhere spectacular and did absolutely amazing. And that was one of the 2 grand prize winners. The other grand prize winner was a Female Team of the Year, and the Tokay girls wrestling team won that for their outstanding work. As Gary pointed out, their coach and for them. So outstanding recognition to have 2 of the champions and so many other winners all from our district was just flat out spectacular.
Great, thank you. Any other board members? Okay. Oh, yes, hi, Bonnie.
The voice from afar.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just really fast.
Very good, go.
2 significant accomplishments, budget and LCAP. So much work that's gone into both of these. So thank you, Kim and Angel, and all the staff that worked on budget, and Lisa and her staff, of course, led with by Kathy and us all. Thank you for that. And then I just wanted to say best wishes to Mr. Hearn. Have a wonderful retirement. And what I know is that your caring, honesty, expertise made us a better district, and I will miss you. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Great, thank you, Bonnie.
You have one more meeting.
Yes, one more.
Yes, one more meeting on the
Indentured
27th.
meeting until the 30th.
Oh, we could,
Yeah.
we'll set time away, set on the agenda for a roast. Yeah. All right, thank you, Ms. Castle, appreciate it. Anybody else? All right, very good. We now are at our report items. I did kind of change the order a little bit, but the first one is still Joe Cerner Charter School annual update. Please come forward.
Good evening, President Hemmerly, Dr. Washer, and Board of Trustees. I'm here with Maria Cervantes, Principal of Soya K-8 Charter School, and she's going to be giving her annual update of the program, the dual immersion program at the Stern Elementary School, K-8 school.
Thank you, Mrs. Lunson. Good evening, Board President, members of the Board, Superintendent Washer, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here before you presenting regarding Joe Cerna Junior Charter School. It is Lodi's one and only dependent charter school. And just trying to simplify it for you, because we have been in existence for quite a few years now, that it is a two-way immersion program. Students receive instruction in Spanish and English every day, and it's different percentages according to the grade level. By 5th grade, all students receive 50-50 instruction in Spanish and English. Our student engagement is focused on always keeping students engaged and involved. We are taking on project-based instruction also at kindergarten through 8th grade. We see that the focus on collaboration with our students will be very exciting as they're using their language at that specific point, or as it's called, the designated language for that time that you walk into the class. Thank you. And we are very focused on integrated thematic instruction, again, encouraging students to analyze, problem solve, and application, personalized learning, always focused on equity, recognizing that when students are taking on two languages at the same time, it's our responsibility to ensure they attain whatever tools or support for them to access both languages and to make the academic progress. And Common Core state standards, this year we've been using all the materials for English language arts and for math, all California Common Core. The dual language development program that we are currently implementing is what is called the 90-10 model, and starting where in kindergarten the students receive 90% of their instruction in Spanish and 10% in English, and then it changes according to the year. Guided language acquisition is very implemented at all grades, with the idea that the program, it's a training, it's really more professional development on promoting language acquisition and literacy, high academic language. It also promotes student collaboration and problem solving. Assessment and data analysis is the driving force for us. Thank you, Mr. Melandro and your staff, for offering all of your data so quickly. It is one that being in a school where you're providing instruction in two languages, it's like walking a tightrope. You always have to be very aware of what percentage of time, what level of instruction are you providing in the two languages with the assessments that are before our students. So without assessment and data analysis, we might be in the dark, but thank you to our department here in the district and all the support we get. It helps us as a staff greatly. Learning Headquarters is a program that is aligned with Common Core, and it is provided in Spanish and English. So we receive professional development from this company and implement it across the grades. And AVID, we are very proud to say that all of our 6th through 8th grade students receive intensive focus in AVID. And that's organizational skills, study skills, and college and career readiness presentations so that they're ready to take on what is ahead for them. And they've responded very well. I get very positive feedback from the different high schools that our students are very comfortable with taking on multiple teachers and realize how important it is to maintain high organizational skills at all times. And every year we present our demographics. They really change very little. We are always striving to maintain 50% native English speaking students, 50% native Spanish speaking students in order to promote the two languages. And as you see on one, the English speaking, this last year we had 138 students and 144 English learners. and all of them are Spanish speaking. And we had 62 that were reclassified as fully English proficient. Overall, though, we're a school that has no transients. And so students start in kindergarten and complete their education all the way through their 8th grade until they're ready to move on to high school. And these are results from last year. So I will say that our English language learners, they did increase in the results. Our English language progress also increased last year. And in this last school year, we had a significant increase of students being reclassified as English proficient. We're very proud of those results. And preliminary results are still to be analyzed in this area, but we are very hopeful that we've maintained some momentum in that area. The next result is in math, and in math we did take a dip, and preliminary results indicate that we did take another dip in math. So we know that as a school and as a staff, we need to do some very serious analysis in regards to the model, the design, the number of minutes. We also need to really look deeply are we as a staff providing the math vocabulary and language in English that is necessary to demonstrate the proficiency on a very rigorous and demanding exam. That everything that is in the current assessments requires you to have a high level of English vocabulary and the ability to respond in English in a very comprehensive manner. So we know that we have some work to do in the coming year. And for the focus for the coming year is one, again, as a result of our data analysis, is review and update the dual immersion model, and that again, looking at what is required in order to meet the needs of our students so that they continue to make that academic achievement in the ELA section as well as in math. We will continue to use the effective strategies that we know have worked very well, and we realize that intervention is a big piece in order to assist all of our students. If we have native English speakers and we want to assist them in achieving a higher level of Spanish, they're going to get intervention in Spanish. If our native Spanish speakers need more support in English, they are going to get more support in English. We will continue to focus on increasing the number of students that are reclassified in English in the coming year. And technology, I can only share with you, has been very positively implemented at Joe Serna Junior Charter School with the support of the district technology coach and the teacher, the lead teacher at our school. More of our staff is becoming far more comfortable in the use of Promethean panels and using Google Classroom and many other aspects of technology that our students absolutely need to have. That's just necessary. We cannot look the other way when it comes to technology. And implementation of positive behavior intervention and support services. We had our first year of training. Next year we look forward to working again as a team and continuing to support all the positive practices that we have at Joe Serna Junior Charter School. We have very low discipline and very few students in situations of being suspended, and it is a school-wide effort, starting from the kindergarten teacher to the student supervisors to our cafeteria staff. Everybody is actively involved in making a difference in the lives of Joe Serna Junior Charter School students. And that's our brief presentation. Now it's your opportunity to ask any questions that you have for me.
Do you have the Chromebooks?
Yes, we do.
Are you one-to-one also?
Yes, we were very fortunate to be able to have the one-to-one.
When you talk about Google Docs. I was kind of assuming that's what it was, but I want to make sure.
Yes.
Any questions from board members?
Yeah, Maria, when these kids reach the 8th grade and they're promoted, what is it, high school, right?
Yes.
Are they all at reading level, the 8th grade? All your students are?
That is the goal that we're striving for, and as a result of the analysis of data and achievement, we recognize that we're not meeting the expectations that we have regarding our native Spanish-speaking students attaining proficiency by the time they finish 8th grade.
What percentage of them are way up there?
At this point, Mr. Nava, I have to really say that it's, I could say that this 8th grade class was very challenged, but also when you do deep analysis and we actually disaggregate the kind of program they received over the span of 8 years, that there may have been some gaps created in their access to English. That it is far more difficult to learn how to read, write, and speak in English than it is in Spanish. If an English-speaking person would like to develop proficiency in Spanish, they only have to learn 14 letter sound combinations that do not exist in the English language. For a native Spanish speaker, they must acquire over 50 letter sound combinations to develop proficiency in English. Those are, the data that we have though is what is demonstrating to us that the intervention using Read 180, System 44, Rosetta Stone in Spanish and in English, all of them are contributing to our students that are native Spanish speakers making progress.
If I can add to that, this conversation Maria and I have been having throughout the year and looking at the data, and we are concerned about our English learners, how they're progressing compared to our EL students. And so one of the recommendations I made to Maria is to work with staff on relooking at the current model and making sure they're all on the same page. There's been lots of changes in staff, especially this year. There were quite a few changes on teachers. So we want to make sure that everyone is clear on what the 9-10 model means for CERNA and what their responsibilities are between one grade level to the next. And what does it mean for a student who's an English-only speaker and a Spanish speaker, and making sure that the rigor is being delivered at the same level in both English and Spanish, because if it's being delivered instruction at the same level of rigor, English and Spanish, then they should be fully bilingual by the time they, if the model is being implemented with fidelity and consistently, and there's interventions happening appropriately for EOs and ELs throughout those 9 years at CERNA, they should all be classified and all be receiving the seal of biliteracy and be proficient in English and Spanish. So there's some work to be done on that. There's also many of our ELs who come in do not come with preschool. There are some gaps that they're already coming in with, so there's going to be a little more, even more intense instruction at the lower grades, because some of our kids coming in who are Spanish speakers are not coming in with the same level of language in the primary language as our English-only students are coming in. So it's an opportunity to relook at the model and making sure that everyone is understanding what the mission and the vision is, what the plan is from kinder to 8th grade, and some cross-level articulation. So that's going to be Maria's focus next year.
Do you have quite a turnover in teachers, or do they stay there?
We've had a turnover of some staff in the last couple of years. This next year, though, we're very much looking forward to the staff that we're going to have. In years past, I've started the school year where we don't have a full staff, and this year, with the ability to have student teachers interview within the district and being able to access teachers really made a difference, so that before the year was out, our school was fully staffed. That was new.
They have to be very special teachers to teach the both languages, don't they? I mean, they have to be bilingual? No?
No.
No. Or do they?
Yes, they do. Well, for kindergarten through 5th grade, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, they
Yeah, the
must be
lower
bilingual in
grades.
Spanish
I've
and
observed that,
English.
and it's intriguing how the teacher works so hard in keeping those two languages going when you have a bunch of sponges in the classroom. I've never observed the 6th or 7th or 8th that, but I'm sure it's quite similar to that, or only more advanced.
It's more advanced. The Spanish program in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade is very comprehensive. And for example, 6th grade Spanish is first year high school Spanish. And so it is very comprehensive, and we have teachers that teach that specifically. But kindergarten through 5th grade, they must be bilingual in order to talk for the program.
Last question. Most of your students at the 8th grade level, when they're promoted, do they stay in Lodi Unified?
They do.
They
They
do.
do. We have students that attend Joe Sterna from all over Lodi Unified, and so we have students that will go to Tokay High School, Lodi High, Mill College High School, also to, we've had students go to McNair, Bear Creek. All of that really contributes to the diversity that we have at our school.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes. My sense is that if you had a non-English speaking student attending just a regular elementary school in our district, they probably would not be as successful there as they are at your school, Joe Cerna.
It really depends. That we also recognize that the foundation in language is really is a big key. So you could have a student that has any language, and if they don't have a solid base in their primary language, taking on that second language is still going to be a challenge. And so it goes back to, again, the direct explicit instruction that is necessary in both languages.
And in our regular programs, the ELD instruction is a key component to support those students. So the ELD, and that's why we're having discussions to support our teachers on the ELD program, because that is a huge piece for a successful program for our English learners in any of our schools.
I'm assuming that Joe Center is really a valuable asset to our district for those students. You know, so I actually am applauding you.
No, thank you. It is a wonderful program, and I'm very appreciative that Lodi Unified is very supportive of everything that we provide at Joe Cerna.
Okay, thank you. Any other board members?
Yeah, sure. Ray, I've always been a big fan, ever since your days in Heritage. I think you did a fantastic job there, and I love to see you over there at Joe Cerna right now. I'm really impressed with what you guys are doing with the in language arts area. You guys are just busting it out there. That's fantastic. I'm a math guy, and so math, I always look at those scores, and yeah, we could probably do a little bit better there, but I'm sure that you guys are working on that. We'll look a little bit better on that next year. So thank you for everything you're doing out there. You've done a great program.
Bonnie, any questions?
Yeah, just a comment. And again, I appreciate the voice from afar here. But I know a lot of people probably know that Maria and her wonderful school enjoy a very long waiting list of anxious parents who want their children to attend Joe Cerna starting in kindergarten. And I think that really speaks to the tremendous respect that this great charter school has earned and certainly deserves today. And it's really always been a proud association and partnership, Lodi Unified and Joe Cerna. And thank you, Maria, as always, for your fantastic leadership. Thank you.
Thank you for the voice from afar, Bonnie.
Maria, I'm always amazed at how many people come up and tell me that their kids go to Joe Cerna and how much they love it. Never once a compliment, and that really compliments you and the program and the outstanding job you do. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brady.
How's your maintenance work going?
I didn't know how to run this, but I just want to really thank Lodi Unified for really taking pride in our facility. It's one of the facilities that needs probably the most amount of love, and this district is giving that school lots of love right now. We're getting a new roof, it's going to get painted, and carpeting. Everybody's very much appreciative and looking forward to seeing that school have a facelift. And it couldn't be done though without all the support from the school board, from all the departments that this district has. So I thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the public on this report item? All right, well, thank you very much, Maria. Like I said, I'm going to kind of mix up the listing here. Next up would be Learning Communities for School Success Grant, Ms. Katowski. And Randy.
Yes, and Randy.
And what's his name?
What a gentleman.
He is a gentleman.
That's not a play either.
No, it's for real.
Yeah.
But he is wearing a tie, so.
So you cannot trust anybody wearing a tie. Out of
You are a classy guy.
President Kimberly, members of the board, Dr. Washer, Mr. Melandro, Mr. Gentleman here, and I are here to talk a little bit about the California Learning Communities for School Success Grant that I briefly mentioned at our last board meeting, where we were awarded $1.6 million. From what I understand, you could go to the, oh, I have it.
See if you can get it to work. No?
I got it. Oh, you did it. We pushed it at the same time. Out of, I believe there were like 164 applications. You could correct me, it was 154 applications. 160, see? And only 34 were awarded throughout the state of California. So to receive this grant is an accomplishment that we should be proud of for all the hard work that the district and our writer did to put it together. We're going to receive over the total of the 3 years $1.6 million, slightly less than what we wanted, but we'll take the 1.6. And basically, the purpose is to build a sustainable, multi-tiered system of interventions and support to promote our students to be engaged in school, to have positive behavior, to combat truancy and chronic absenteeism, and to help our students of color be included in school sites and the activities of the school rather than being disproportionately excluded. So the nice piece about this grant is that it is, this really supports the district's focus. What you can see before you comes from the LCAT Goal 3 to transform schools into positive and school-supported learning environments. And those are just a list of some of the activities, goals, and actions that we have. And this grant supports all of those actions that we've already identified as important to Lodi Unified. And so we're not going down a different path, we're not changing, we're not adding things, we're actually bringing something to support the goal that we as a district and you as a board found to be important. It also supports our positive behavior intervention support system, PBIS for short, that we're going next year into our third year. So all of our schools will have received positive behavior intervention, professional development, and strategies to work on that. It also supports some of our school sites that have worked with restorative discipline practices and our resolution agreement with our Office of Civil Rights. So it helps us accomplish a lot of things. So I'm really proud and pleased that we can come and talk about it today. And I'm going to really turn it over to Mr. Melandro, because he's our authority on the grant right at this point in time.
Thank you, Ms. Katowski. President Heberly, members of the board, Dr. Washer. It's very exciting for me to talk about this grant that we received. First of all, we had a very short time frame to put it together. We worked with a grant writer and we spent a lot of time going back and forth. But we've talked a lot in this district about what are we doing for our African American students. they're chronically absent at a higher degree, they're suspended to a greater degree, and in terms of the rate of passing classes, they're below everyone else. This grant allows us to finally do something systemically. Not have discussions, not have forums, but action. And that's what's really exciting to me. So I want to kind of share with you tonight what those actions are. First of all, you can see the number of schools that are involved. Everyone that you see up there will be involved the first year except 3 elementary schools. And the reason why we had to cut back a little bit is because we wrote the grant based on number of students at 1.9 million. And when we talked to the state, they in essence ran out of money and they wanted to spread it out a little bit more. So everybody got cut a certain percent. But even some of the large school districts in the state, they received maybe $50,000 more than what we did. So it's a nice amount of money that we received, especially looking at the other 34 districts in the state that received that. So professional development is one of the activities. One of the things that has become difficult is trying again to do something systemically. So as a part of this grant, we have this trauma-informed approach that will be an online professional development. We have cultural competency. We have several things that we'll look at working with administrators to share with staff to have this online professional development that they can view, be involved in, and then have that discussion and have that be the same at all these school sites. Next, there will be an advisory committee that consists of parents, community members, district administrators, teachers, and students to kind of keep an eye and see how this is going and if there are changes that we need to make. Next, this early warning and referral system. One of the nice things about this grant, as Ms. Katowski was sharing, is that it dovetails with a lot of things that we're already doing. How will we know who these students are who need help? Well, a big part of the grant is chronic absenteeism. We have child welfare and attendance advisors at our schools. Now, each school doesn't have one of those, but they can work with them to begin to identify how we identify those students so that we can assist them. This next piece is the biggest part of the grant, and that is personnel. We know what makes a difference with kids are relationships. So what we plan to do is to hire 10 community liaison assistants. Now you might look at that and say, well, I thought that was for students or different languages. It's for a lot of things. And what we want to do is have the focus of these community liaisons, 10 the first year, and we'll have overall 13 the second and the third year of the 3-year grant. They will be working with the African American community, with African American students, primarily. Now there are other students who need help, that when we do our evaluation, they will also work with that group of students, but primarily they'll be working with African American students, their families, sharing with them, connecting with them, meeting with them weekly, checking on their grades. If there are programs at school they need to be involved in, this person will be talking to them regularly to say, you weren't at tutoring this afternoon, where were you? I didn't see you in school yesterday. Calling families, hooking them up with various community organizations to support and assist them, and developing that relationship with those students. So that's a huge part of what the grant provides, and we're not just going to hire community liaison assistants and say, do this. But there's a program out of the University of Minnesota called Check and Connect, and that's what all the community liaisons will be trained in. How do they work with that student as a mentor? How do they work with their families? How do they work with the community? How do they work with the school sites programs that are currently in existence? So that's the big part of the grant. So you can see the number that we have. Now the grant did require that we hire someone to oversee all of those community liaisons. We have someone to monitor the grant at that level. So we'll be looking at, and we worked with personnel to develop a job description for a supervisor who would not only work with those community liaisons, making sure that if they had issues, they could come to that individual, but also that supervisor will be out at school sites working directly with students as well. Another piece that is part of our grant, based on something that we've had in the district for a while, but looking at that and a more systemic approach, is mentoring. So we have written into the grant some mentoring where we have, like Mr. Patrick's program as an example, where you train students at the high school, they share with students at middle and elementary schools. Now, we've had a little bit of difficulty with this in the past because there haven't been money to pay these mentors, these student mentors, to come after school. And it's always difficult, as you know, to get high school students to come after school without some tangible reason. We've written into the grant money to pay those students to get trained as mentors and to pay them for the time that they spend mentoring the middle and elementary school students. So again, we're trying to work with our students, specifically African American students, with a number of approaches, working with their families, working with them, and having mentors at the high school come and directly work with them. The second part of that is, after hopefully we take care of the chronic absenteeism, we get those students coming to school, is to provide academic tutoring. So we've written into the grant between 6 and 12 hours each, 6 and 9 hours each week, to provide academic tutoring for students to stay after. So that if you have been chronically absent, if that's a problem, we're going to catch you up. We're going to give you a reason to come back into class and take away that idea that I'm too far behind, I'll never catch up. So that academic tutoring is a big piece of that as well. So where do we go from here? We're very much involved right now in figuring out a way to cut $234,000 out of our original budget, which was $1.9 million. But we think we've done that. We're going to postpone 3 schools until the following year, so we'll start out with only 14 or 15 schools, and we'll add 3 the next year. Putting together the advisory committee, we have gotten the job description written. We'll work with personnel to hopefully get started on hiring some of these community liaison assistants so that we can get them trained and get them into the classrooms as soon as possible. So we're in the process of clarifying that work plan, and we're very much on the way to do that. But it is very exciting to be a part of actually doing something for our students who have the greatest need, something tangible, and something that we're actually getting funding from the state to be able to work with our students who have the greatest needs.
Questions from the board? Comments?
First of all, I'll tell you, thank you for putting this together. It's a great idea. If we're going to attack this thing, it's got to be like a holistic approach. You can't just have an academic tutoring program for kids who don't want to learn. You know, so you've got to bridge that also. I like the idea of including other elements from around our community. I think Mr. Patrick, I worked with him before at Creekside, and I've seen some excellent work come out of that and what we can do with the kids. That was not an academic part. It was a part about getting the kids interested and showing them a different path. And I think that combined with this academic program is the way to go. I encourage you to look also at other venues from the county, other aspects that we can incorporate into this, so that we are adding rather than duplicating resources to this. If you look at our low-performing schools, that's been one of the things that we wanted to talk about. We've got the same ones, year after year after year, regardless of our academic programs we've tried to put in. This is kind of the piece that we're missing here. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this happen and see what the results are going to be on this. I've been involved in, when I was at a charter high school, we had mentoring programs, and we used seniors as academic mentors for our freshmen, for incoming freshmen, to shore up their academic skills. We used staff members, faculty, to go ahead and mentor some of the kids all the way through that were having a little more problems, both outside of school. So we didn't get paid extra for that. I remember that was an issue. But what we did is certain days we took time off, right? We cut minimum days, and we did what they call, I think it was EM, educational mentor time, EMT. But using adults in front of kids is a great way of helping them. kids can kind of get together and come up with some strange things sometimes. We got to get as much adult time in there as we can. So thank you very much for putting this together. I look forward to hearing about the progress of this as we move forward.
Yes.
I am glad that this money is going to the right place. That's my personal opinion. Secondly, Randy, check and connect. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a program out of the University of Minnesota, and it involves exactly what we had hoped that our community liaisons would do. That they would mentor the student, that they would create a relationship, that they would connect with their parents, let their parents know what's going on with the student, and connect that student back to school and to the programs that are offered at the school. So the Check and Connect is simply giving those community liaisons that training to be able to know how to work with those students and point them in those directions. Because a lot of times, unfortunately, when we hire people, we're so anxious to get people in positions that we have open, there's not as much training as what we would like. So we want to make sure that we're doing this right. And University of Minnesota has an excellent program, research-based, that's rated very high, and it's also a program we can afford.
Okay, one more thing, maybe a couple more things. Staff development, online. I kind of have a problem with that because you don't get the meat of expression and management and problems that you have in actual staff development. I go to the online and it's all, well, and then they're finished with that staff development. Do you plan on doing anything like that with experts that come in here and give you those types of ideas and types of the check and connect type of thing?
Well, I think part of what has been our problem in the past is that we go to principals and we share something with them and say, now take this back and share this with your staff. And it's something delivered by an expert. They have to internalize that and then take that back to staff in the same way that they received it. Well, we all know how that goes sometimes.
Yes.
So the point of this is the professional development that would be online would be the content. The collaboration, the discussion, and all that would have to happen as a part of that. It wouldn't just be, you're going to take this online training, everybody put your headphones on, and when you're done, you leave. It's more of, that's where that the content piece comes in, and then it's supported by the administrators in the second piece of that professional development. Because with adults and with kids, everybody knows straight online is very difficult. You have to blend that with face-to-face time and time for discussion about those ideas.
And the question is, you're going to eliminate 3 schools. How do you make that determination?
Well, this one was difficult for me because of the 3 schools that feed into a former middle school that I'm associated with. It is the schools that have the either lower numbers of African American students or lower numbers of African American students that were not being successful. And the other thing, what we tried to do is all the schools that feed into a particular middle school, we wanted to kind of keep them together. That was our idea. That's where the community liaison will work, and that's where the program is, so that for the most part, if you're a feeder school to Delta Sierra, you're getting the program at your elementary school, and then you're going to get it when you go to Delta Sierra, and then you're going to get it when you go to the high school. But that was a difficult part, and so in essence, those 3 schools are John Muir, Julian Morgan, and Emmanuel Silva. And they all feed into my former middle school. So that was a tough one for me.
Thank you. You guys have got your work cut off because that's quite a task. You know, just from my personal experience as a coach and working in Edison High School with all African American that I coach, you know, it's a task and it's very needful because there's a lot of things that are happening there that, you know, we don't know. Thank you.
Board members, anything? Go ahead.
This is fantastic. Thank you, Randy and Lisa, for bringing this to us. This is yet another option, I think, that's really going to change lives of our children in the district, and you can't do any better than that. Thank you very much.
I actually, on the Check and Connect, the mentors who are these mentors that you're talking about? Are you talking about teachers at this?
See, there are two different mentors we're talking about. One are the students.
Okay.
That would be in the mentoring program that would be trained and then go down to the middle and
They're going
elementary.
to volunteer, they're going to be recruited in some
Right.
way by who?
Right, in a similar program that Mr. Patrick, that's an example of a mentoring program that has been in the district. Pardon me? Well, we'd have to work with site administrators and site people to recruit those individuals they think that would be good mentors to students.
So you're looking at maybe older kids and teachers and parents, outside people?
No, it would be only students at at Ronald E. McNair and Bear Creek.
Okay, got it.
And then the Check and Connect, that mentoring piece is a small piece done by the community liaisons.
Okay.
And those are the individuals, like Mr. Neely was talking about, that create the relationships, that meet with those kids at least once a week, talk about how they're doing.
And those are adults?
And those are adults. We would hire them as community liaison assistants, 6-hour positions, 10 of those the first year and 3 the second.
Sounds like a good plan. Thanks.
Thank you.
Is there some way that, we can consider funding those other 3 schools and get them all? Is that a possibility?
And what I say?
I can do anything you want, but I can't do everything you want.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, does anybody
Is that
else-
right?
That's correct.
What are we talking about? What were the costs?
Well, that would be the difference between 1.6 and 1.9 that was originally requested, so.
Yeah, we actually received 1.7 and we requested 1.93. So we're about 234,000 over the 3 years of the
Less than 9,000 a year.
grant.
That's very
No,
good.
you're. Add that up again, would you? I'm not getting what Mr. Neely said.
We wrote the grant for 1.933, and when they funded it, we got funded for 1.7, almost 1.7 even. So we're about $234,000 over the life of the 3-year grant. So we're about a little over $100,000 short each year. So we had to make that up. So we made it up with some less. We decreased the amount of tutoring time, and then we brought in schools in year 2 and 3 with their community liaison assistants, because that's, as always, personnel is the greatest expense, and that's what we believe in this grant, and it has people in it. Now, we know that it's highly unlikely that we will be hiring all these people and have them available day 1. So we know there's going to be some money saved there, but in terms of how much and when we get that done, I couldn't say, and we want to make sure that since Mr. Hearn is here at the end of his term, we want to make sure we're very much fiscally responsible as we look at spending that money.
I have a question. How much disruption, if the board chose to fund those other 3 schools, would that create?
For the grant itself?
For your program?
It wouldn't cause any disruption, because we already have it set for everything now. It would just be adding those 3 community liaisons and those schools finding tutors for the first year.
Thank you.
Mr. Hearn? Are those
All he is
3
direction
schools
for-
coming on board on year 2?
Yes.
They are coming online year 2.
And those are the ones that are low.
And you have the, actually, what I call is priorities on it. So I'm okay with that, as long as they bring in the second year, people select.
And I do suspect if we get moving in the first year and find that we don't start until later and we're saving a little bit money, it would be possible to maybe at least get people hired earlier, get them trained earlier, to do some of those things a little bit ahead of time, even if we can't fully implement.
One of the things that we've kind of noticed in the past is there would be state money for X, like a grant or something, and we couldn't quite get it going, so we didn't use up all that designated money within like 3 years. And it actually kind of pushed it out so that we were able to kind of start it that first year, but we were able to continue it for an extra year. Is that okay to do that in this grant, or is it 3 years, boom?
We're 2017 to 2020.
Okay.
I have had conversations with the person who is the assistant superintendent in charge of leading the LCAP charge, that after those 3 years, if this is highly successful, then then we start looking at supporting it where we can within the district and having something that we know works, rather than try and utilizing that money now and not being sure. If it works over 3 years and we know it works, that's a solid reason to utilize and find other monies in the district, other grants, LCAP, Title I, whatever we can do to try and fund it if it is successful.
It might end up being a blend of a bunch of sources. Okay, one of the pieces that I noticed, and we always talk about it, is that we have to have the kids come to school, and we're talking about attendance. Do we have enough CWA workers, or would we find that that might be necessary, or do you see the liaisons kind of handling that kind of part of it?
I see it as a partnership with the child welfare and attendance advisors, kind of informing these community liaisons about those students, and then they work together. One of the big pieces of the grant is that parent engagement. Many of our parents who see students absent here, there, a little bit here, don't realize actually how many days those students have been absent, don't realize how important it is that they attend every day. And that's part of what the group requires, is that parent sharing with parents how important that attendance is, and letting them know. I think sometimes, especially at high school, a student misses a few days, a parent doesn't think about it, and then when someone gives them a call and says, your student has missed 10 days. It's like, oh, I didn't realize that they had missed that many. And how important it is that each and every day that they're there at school. And when we did the influence report that we put together of students who are the most needy and who are struggling the most in our district, almost, I would say 90% of them were chronically absent.
Oh, with that.
And that's why we said we need to have somebody. That's why we can't just do tutors. Because if the kids aren't there at school, you can have all the tutors you want, and there's nobody to tutor. So what this is really trying to work with families and students to connect and give them a reason that when they're out, that next day they come back, or that afternoon, somebody's calling them. Not the system, not the automated system. That community liaison assistant is on the phone calling, saying, hi, I noticed you weren't here today. Are you sick? What can I do? Can I get your work for you? There's somebody who's personally checking on them.
Well, that goes back to the age-old thing of children need a positive adult contact. And if there's this continuum of support, that really helps a lot. And we also know that not all parents have the same standard of making sure that their child gets to sleep, gets some food, gets the homework done, gets to school. That's all outside of our control, except for we can make sure that they know that it's happening. Like you said, some may not realize, oh, wait a minute, how many days did you say? Yeah, it was 10 days this month. Everything will start falling if they're out of the class. So, that's why that component of the grant, I think, will be really help make it successful. So, any other comments from board, public? Okay. Sure.
Wow, amazing. Can't tell you, and I think I've shared with you how many calls this year about the need for this in some of our North Stockton schools. A couple of questions. Randy, through Lisa, through the chair. You explained that this wasn't adding anything more on top of, and as we look at the LCAP 3-page, Todd, if you could bring that up. It's just addressing a couple of those pieces, is that correct? It's not meeting all of the needs on that slide, correct?
No, it's addressing pieces.
Just pieces of it, okay. With 18 high-need schools, I didn't see a piece where we're educating teachers to do any real piece of this. Is there a teacher component or training or education as to how to facilitate support or change in how we work?
Yeah, that's the online professional development.
I thought that was just for the...
That's for the teachers. That's for admin and staff.
Oh, admin and staff,
Yeah, that's
just
the
not the
trauma-based,
community liaisons.
the trauma-based, the cultural competency, that professional development for the teachers in an online format that I shared with Joe. That's for the teachers.
Okay.
The professional development for the community liaisons with the University of Minnesota coming out and directly doing that.
Okay, so they're not doing the same training then as the community liaisons?
No.
It's a different piece?
Yes.
Okay. And I guess it's a multi-pronged approach. We like that. And, with the mentoring and the academic tutoring, are we looking at students for that, teachers for that, pairs for that?
What we have budgeted is minimum wage, so I know you take who it takes out of that equation.
Okay.
But we also will be working with Cindy Metler using the AVID model, and then attempting to work with UOP and Delta College. The problem that we had with our AVID tutors in the past is we ran out of money, and so we had to utilize on-site individuals. We hope to be able to use our own students, but we also now, at least with some payment for those tutors, we should be able to go out to both Delta and to UOP, which we had done before for our AVID tutors, to obtain them there if we don't have enough internal.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, yes, please. You're behind the podium.
That's an amazing program. I also want to just share that I sit on the council for Beyond Our Gates for University of the Pacific, and I know they've done a really good job of being able to kind of look at that multifaceted approach in community engagement, especially relating to attendance. So just a thought as I'm sitting here listening to all this, my head's kind of twirling. Maybe incorporating the business community and finding some sort of ways to incentivize the students for attendance. I know that they did some sort of program where they raffled off like a Kindle or something like that. But Barnes & Noble would be happy to help with that type of thing. But I know, if you're paying the community liaisons to help with the program, I think also the students who are achieving growth and attendance would probably appreciate some sort of incentivized item, and just thinking about that and my past experience, I just want to share that with you.
Thank you, and this board meeting is being recorded, right?
Yeah.
So we heard Barnes & Noble that will offer those prizes. We appreciate that, and we'll take you up on
We have
that.
her name right here. So, one of the things that I think is real important is when we do something differently, that the rollout is kind of important. How do we introduce it? And if it's going to be on those campuses, it can't be just, hey, what's that thing they're kind of doing? They need to know up front, they need to know ahead of time that this is coming to the campus. What does it entail and that kind of thing. Is there any kind of mechanism to help with that communication?
We'll be working with administrators. We met with these particular administrators near the end of last year and informed them that we were going to be writing this grant and that a big part of it would be those community liaisons. And there was nothing but thrilled people at that meeting. So we'll be working with administrators so they can share early on with their staff very early on in the year what this program is, what it is not, and so that everybody will know what that is, who that person is on our campus, what are they doing here,
exactly.
Those kinds of things. It's very important because we need staff at the school site to be supportive of the program, and they can't be supportive if it's not being communicated to.
And we need to set the procedures and the processes of how things should be accomplished at school sites so that everybody does everything in the same manner, kids aren't coming out of class and those kinds of things. So
right.
We should set that direction.
Because, like you just said, kids shouldn't come out of class tests, but we're going to pull them out of class for, yeah, I get it. Okay. Any other?
I'm sorry, I was going to
Go
say,
ahead,
Mr. Hadley,
sure.
members of the board, I just want to let you know that at the next board meeting next week, we are going to put this again on the board agenda to ask your permission to move forward with getting these folks, at least the hiring process, started before we actually get the physical money in our hands and the award letter, so the official, because that won't come until later in the summer, and then we'll be playing catch up. So that's our plan at this point.
Oh, the state's not going to defer the grant? Okay.
It's
It's for you. Any other questions, comments? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All righty. The next agenda item would be Dr. Washer, presentation about the immediate needs for African American students.
Thank you. I'm going to invite Mr. Lester Patrick to come forward and share with you his thoughts.
Good evening. I hope it's okay to sit here.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm going to move, oh, here it is.
It'll take him a minute to.
Yeah, if you can make that work, good luck. 'Cause, us three presenters have.
Okay, while it's coming up, I want to thank Mr. Melandro for all that good hard work, and it's going to make my job really easy. Takes me out of the selling mode. Who's bringing up the? Oh, okay, good. Well, while it's coming up, I assume my time won't start. Oh, there it is. First of all, thank you for the opportunity, because I know that this got sent forward just last Monday. So thank you for putting me on the agenda so quickly. And I want to talk to you about support for the immediate needs of African American students, and talk to you about how, if supported, these items will result in success that we're looking for African American students within the Lodi Unified School District. And I also want to share with you some of the things that we're doing already in the community that is working towards that. Now,
Okay, I'll do it for you.
okay.
He can do it for you.
Okay, good, thank you. The first need is mentoring. And we didn't coordinate this, but the first need is mentoring. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on talking about why we need mentoring, because I don't think I have to sell you to on that idea. But I do want to say that there's been a lot of research to show that mentoring is just as important as the academic for students. And as a matter of fact, some actually argue that it's more important, based upon the fact that if a student has an aptitude but they don't know how to sit down, they don't know how to deal with people in authority, then they can't be successful. So those things are critical before they can really apply themselves. So, thank you. So I want to talk to you now about a program that we've implemented about 11 years ago, a mentoring program to support, supplement parents in the school system in their efforts to develop disciplined, academically successful students, to provide insight to these young men who we mentor on a host of topics that they normally don't get exposed to, as well as inspire commitment and motivation, and to nurture the building blocks of positive character. This program is conducted by African American males from the community, with African American women in some cases in the background. It's been, like I said, it's been in effect now for 11 years. There are many positive results that come as a result of that. And the first, and I think probably most important, is that the young men involved get to deal with and interact with positive male role models. Not all of them get that advantage. Also, they get the opportunity to learn they can be successful and to practice it. And I'll show you what I mean by that later. We started this program, as I said, 11 years ago at Bear Creek, 15 boys and 30 at Delta Sierra. And then we included Krista McCullough. Now, Bear Creek is not involved at this point, but when all three schools are involved, technically, we usually mentor to about 100 boys who are involved in the program. It's a peer mentoring program. This year, Delta Sierra and Krista McCullough were the two schools involved, and they have consistently been involved with 50 boys in the program. And again, Bear Creek is not involved, and I'll mention that later. We've enjoyed a lot of public community support. The list, actually I could have included others, but University Pacific, for example, doing workshops for us. Also their engineering department, Sacramento State University as well. The Sacramento Kings giving us some tickets to go to basketball games. Lodi Unified School District's been very supportive. The Library Services from the city of Stockton, city elected officials such as the mayors, all mayors have in some way been involved with this program, with the exception of the last mayor. City manager, board of supervisors, Congressman McNerney has given a session at one of our programs. But then, of course, there are the community members and the mentees, which are most important at the three schools. We've enjoyed also a lot of positive press, which is always important. First of all, it helps to encourage the young boys, just a minute. It helps to, that's good. It helps to encourage the young men, and it also encourages people who read these articles to get involved, or if not with this program, with some others. We also have a fun day as part of the program. So we look forward to bringing in people like Michael Merriweather, who come out and play football with the kids, talk about their lives. We've also had players from the Raiders and so forth. Elected officials as well. Mr. Councilman Holman has been involved several years and comes out and talks to the young men about his experiences. He grew up here in Stockton under some of the same conditions that some of the young men grew up under, and he gives them tips on how to survive. These are the mentoring topics. We have roughly 20 topics. We cannot do all 20 each year. So we rotate, and we do that rotation based upon, you see the third item there, the developmental asset survey. And I'll talk about that in just a second. But just to give you an idea of some of those, some characteristics of a real man, making the best of your time, being on your best behavior in class, forming study groups. Racism is not an excuse. Coping with stress, skills in planning your life, dealing with difficult people, career opportunities in information technology. All of those we cannot get into every year again because we have to rotate them. There's only so many sessions we can have. Shown here is an example of mentoring sessions going on at Bear Creek when Bear Creek is involved. So here, community adult members come in, they mentor to the boys on one of these subjects. And then on the, a couple of days later, usually they come in on Tuesday, then on Thursday, after school, these peer mentors go out and they mentor to Delta Sierra and Christian McCullough on the same subject. I'm glad to hear that there's funds coming in to pay the young men, because we did get a grant at one time from the city, a couple of times, where we were able to pay them, and it makes a world of difference. This module is, this slide rather, is basically a new approach for us. We put this together a year or so ago, and we're still working on reviewing the best way to implement it. But there are two things I want to point out. First of all, not all of the boys are at the same place. So, for example, soft skills are important for everybody, health and nutrition, but career and technology module, not all of them within the time frame that we have to work with them are ready for that. So what we've done, we haven't implemented this yet, but what we're looking at doing is bringing those young men in, identifying the ones who are going to work best with certain modules, and then our goal will be to focus on those and with that group of boys, and at the same time increase the number of young men who we're able to service. So we might be able to go from servicing 100 boys at 3 schools to 200 using this approach. This slide shows the framework of developmental assets that I just mentioned on a few slides earlier. This is the tool that we surveyed, that we use to identify what topics we ought to use or implement for this year. The survey consists of them ranking themselves for high risk behaviors and thriving behaviors, with those high risk behaviors being behaviors such as use of alcohol, tobacco use, illicit drugs, and violence and so forth. And also thriving behaviors being those behaviors that show that they succeed in school, that they value diversity, that they understand delayed gratification and so forth. And next. These are broken up into 2 areas, external and internal. Those external characteristics being the ones that you were mentioning just earlier, that are out of their control. Could be the community that they live in, could be poor parenting. But there's also internal assets. And those assets are those they have total control over, such as their homework, honesty, and so forth. And there are 40 of those that they're measured in. And you can flip through to, once we've gone through, we've given them that, we then analyze them, and if you look at the bottom of the sheet there, then we identify what the major weaknesses are across the board for this group of boys. And this is, for example, creative activity, sense of purpose, peaceful conflict resolution, interpersonal competency, engagement, homework, all ones that we saw are very important this year. And then we work with them in the goal setting session to develop a goal based upon one of these. So I blank will set the goal to improve the following developmental assets, and they select one of those. We follow up with them routinely to ensure that they are working towards it. They also have to agree to and sign a contract for success. They recite this. I wish I had the video for that, but I'm sure there won't be time. But they recite this every day. So they promise to make good decisions, positive choices, to set measurable goals and achieve them, to prepare themselves daily for the future, to welcome smart risks, to view short failures as only temporary, to remain positive and respectful. And we, in return, promise them that if they do this, they will be successful. We can go through some session highlights. I'm not going to focus on those. I think there are about 3 slides. I will let you know when to stop. Let me make your ideas known through good writing skills. Let me give you an example. This was they really enjoyed this. This year, this basically involves teaching them or working with them on expressing just what's on their minds in writing. So we do the workshop, and then we give them about 10 minutes to write a 2-paragraph paper. This year the topic was the first time I did blank. And I want to mention this because it was really hilarious. But this young man wrote his paper on the first time I ate Popeye's chicken. And it was really good because he went back to the time he was 5 years old when his parents first took. He described the smell, the taste, and so forth. And it was really good. But the important thing is this. He learned how that no matter what his thoughts are, he can put it in writing and he could present it and read it to an audience of people who would like it. That increased his confidence. So I'm looking forward to him doing more things along those lines. This slide shows a young man who graduated from Delta Sierra. And this young man came back and he spoke to the boys and he told them, only a few years ago, I was sitting in that same seat and I was faced with a lot of decisions that you are faced with today. I made some good ones and I made some bad ones. Most of them were good decisions. Well, today he's a CPA. So he was able to pass on a lot of good information to them and a lot of good advice. This session here they're participating in an art workshop down at the Teen Impact Center. That's the artists, they're on the far right. They're expressing their ideas through art, drawing cartoons. We try to design the sessions in such a way that they are able to come up and present whatever and talk about whatever it is we are talking about that day. So that they can improve their presentation skills. They can get accustomed to getting in front of a group of people. They can overcome that fear. As a matter of fact, we have a session on that. So this is an example of that. And lastly, we have a closing section. This year we had a closing session down at the Teen Impact Center, and we had 4 or 5 workshops that rotated throughout the day to introduce all of the boys to all of these different things, such as good nutrition for young boys and how to be a model citizen and those kinds of things. They had a lunch. They were excited about that. They had Subway sandwiches and cookies and potato chips. And in addition to that, the mayor came in and he talked to them about some really good stuff. He encouraged them and he challenged them to, the ones of them who had a 3.0 or above average, to a one-on-one basketball game. So that was an incentive for them. You can. So I don't want to say anything else about mentoring, but I do want to quickly address these last 2 needs. Need 2, a more inclusive environment. And I think I heard some of that earlier in Randy's presentation, and some of it also addressed in the LCAP. But recruitment of more African American students at all levels, respect for African American parents and community members, better treatment of African American employees in the district. All of these things, I don't think I have to sell you on this idea either, but all of these things contribute to the overall success of these students. So I'm gonna move on to the next. Oh, this slide is basically a partial, it's a partial resource of potential places where we can recruit and build a database or build a applicant pool of African American who are interested in education or who are currently in education. And I said just a partial resource. There's others. The goal here is to request this district to work with me and develop correspondence. And when I say work with me, I can write the letter, it doesn't matter. But it needs to come from the district. It needs to come from the district as far as district overhead or in the form of email to make these contacts, to encourage people to apply here in Lodi Unified School District so that we can increase these numbers. And the last page here, I think, immediate need 3, increase district availability to African American community. You know, it's really crucial. And I've been in an organization where I've seen something similar to this take place. But sometimes you can get wrapped up in meeting with each other that you forget who your customers are. The district we're the customer. The community, the students, the parents, the community members who want to help the kids. We're the customer. And there should be a different priority than what I see happen currently. It's very difficult sometimes and recently to get meetings with the district. And that is a problem. And I just want to take 30 seconds and share this with you about what I mean by this. I have 40 plus years of federal career, and I retired a couple of years ago. There was a time when I worked in an agency where the secretary of the agency sat down with the president of the United States every day. He was in charge of over 300,000 federal employees and 300 plus federal contractors worldwide. He had over $1 billion budget. This man, believe it or not, had an open door policy whereby I could pick up the phone and I could call him if I had a problem. Now you might ask 300,000 people calling one, no, that didn't happen. You knew that because you didn't call him unless you had a problem because there were consequences if you were to do that. But the important thing is that this gentleman who had all of this responsibility understood who the customer was, understood that without his customer, his internal customer, he understood that without happy employees, he couldn't be successful in running the agency. And he made time to do that. It's more difficult, believe it or not, to get meetings here in this district than it was for me to get a call in to a man who sat down every morning with the President of the United States. It should not be that way. It shouldn't be. And in summary, the minimum program, I don't think I have to sell you on the idea of the mentoring program, the need for mentoring, because I think you're very much on board with that, and I want to compliment you for that. It's important, but I need support. I need support at getting the program back into, my goodness, Bear Creek, yes. Sorry about that. Back in the Bear Creek, we haven't been there for 2 years. I've had all kinds of inquiries from the boys as well as parents. Why are you not there? And I don't have a good reason. And lastly, the district needs to, as I mentioned earlier, a new paradigm. There has to be a new paradigm. We gotta do some focus on who the customer is. And internal meetings are always important. But it is critically important to understand who your customer base is and to meet with them and do everything possible to resolve issues that they may have. Thank you, and I appreciate the time. I'm available for questions too if anybody has it.
Board members, questions, comments? Okay.
Mr. Patrick, thank you for a couple of things. Thank you for your concern for our kids. I think you've done a fantastic job. I don't know if you remember, but you and I worked together.
I do, thank you.
Yeah, and you took some of my kids, and they loved the time that they spent there. So I think that's a real bonus. Thank you for putting together a program that's teaching some of these skills. These are skills that the kids can see a real need in. You know, they see that sometimes they can't see how reading Hamlet's going to affect their lives.
Yes.
But they can sure see how job skills and things like that are going to impact their lives. So, and the fact that they get to be around successful adults is just a huge thing. So again, I'm a big fan of this, and I'm a supporter. And again, thank you so much for putting this together.
Thank you.
Support you any way I can.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick. You know, this is the first time I'm sure this board is aware of what you do. I know at times you come to these board meetings and what does Mr. Patrick do? I don't know what he does, you know. But now you came in and explained your program, and it's an excellent program. It's a program that Randy Melandro and Ms. Katoski over there can work with you in this regard, because I see money coming in to some of these mentors. He says he will pay them to be there after school, and sometimes that's what it takes, and they'll be focused on that. So I'm sure that if you would work with the two people over there, that you will have some success in doing some of the things and explain to them the problems that you've had and the success that you've had. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Patrick, thank you so much for coming here tonight. Your passion for our kids is absolutely heartfelt and very inspiring. Your program is very much needed. And you don't look very retired. And thank goodness you're not, because we absolutely need this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Comments from the public? Okay.
I would like to make one point. I'm sorry, Mr. Heberle, I just want to let...
Can I go ahead and go
first?
first?
Sure.
Mr. Patrick, I think that I think blending what this grant is with your program and Dr. Washer kind of setting the parameters of how all that would work, I think that would be a good place for that, because I'm sure that everybody, grants have requirements and blah, 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 and we all get that. So I think that a point of contact for you with, helping her define parameters of who does what and blending it would be great. Yes, Dr. Washer, thank you.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to point out one thing that Mr. Patrick had mentioned was the list of resources, and he was interested in sending a letter. I just want to let you know that the district has sent out 93 letters to universities and colleges expressing interest in hiring staff.
Right. Very good. Thank you. Go ahead.
Before I leave, I just want to take the time to publicly thank Mr. Melandro, because he's been involved in this program since day one. And I want to thank him.
Okay. It was several years ago I went to one of your graduations at Crystal McCullough.
I know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You too.
All right. Next up we have, they went out of order, Mr. Neely. Delegate Assembly report.
Thank you, Mr. Everly. I'm going to try to be fairly quick about this and condense a day and a half of listening to people and speaking into about 5 minutes. Two things happened. This is a delegate assembly that happened in May. You got to understand two things about the delegate assembly. There are two types of information that you get there. One is from CSBA proper, and the other is from meeting with all of these school board members from all around the state. There's over 300 delegates that attend those meetings. If you can put up that first slide, or second slide,
Any slide.
or just any slide at this point.
I had to find it, you went out of order. You got the technology guy all confused.
Hey, I'm sorry, man. I love a mud.
There we go. Okay. Really interesting meeting. We kind of changed the format on it. What happened was that, Mr. Heavily, as you remember when you were part of the delegate assembly, they spent a lot of time congratulating each other on things.
Yes, they did.
And thanking each other and all that kind of stuff. And it was pretty much a waste of time. I started complaining about that 3 years ago. And this time, our director of our area said they've changed the agenda, and he looked straight at me and said, because of you. Well, we now actually have a working agenda that we get things done. Let's take a quick look at this. These are some of the highlights. They talked about the state budget and the federal budget and the uncertainty of both of those items. The state budget, from pretty much what we talked about at school services meeting, the fragility of the whole thing, and the federal budget being affected by political whims and walls that need to be built, things like that. So go back up, please. All right, and the other thing that's coming about is more money for charter schools. Charter schools have developed a grassroots in quotes, movement, and they are affecting both legislation and money, both at the state and the federal level. So they warned us to be careful and not ignore this charter school movement. It's real and it's growing. Mr. Hearn, you're going to like the next one there, the issue of adequacy. That was addressed, and I thought that was really interesting. California schools are underfunded, according to CSBA, by about $22 billion a year. That's about a third, so a little less than a third. That's a lot of money. And interestingly, what happens is the impact on negotiations. You would not believe the problems that the school districts across the state are having in negotiations. An attorney that spoke to us at lunch said, this is the most contentious negotiating season I have ever seen. And everyone is having problems. And it is about adequacy. Lodi Unified, as you guys know, over the last 2 years, we've been either number 1 or number 2 in our county about funding, spending on personnel. We're about at the end of it. But the unions, rightfully so, they asked for more. I've never heard a board member say that a teacher didn't deserve the money. I never heard a board member say we pay too much. Never heard any of that. What it is, we don't have the money, and that's about the issue of adequacy. So anyway, there was a lot of people that had a lot of problems about it. One of the things that went around, some school districts are just barely hanging on. Sacramento City School District is in a horrible crunch. Over the next few years, they're going to have to cut about $66 million out of their budget. Folsom School District is in trouble. And about 25% of all schools did not make a better than qualified budget. But that's qualified is when you've got issues.
Qualified is you may not make your 3 years.
Exactly. Okay, so 25% of the school districts were qualified and below. So,
Is that a mistake they feel?
yeah, it can be. Yeah.
What are they going to do?
Interesting. All right, legislative issues. SB 751 is about raising the statutory reserve limits from 6% to 17%. That did pass through the Senate and is going to the Senate for all the committees and going to the Senate for. AB 527, which adds cost of living adjustments to home to school transportation, which we don't have now. I didn't know that. It never goes up by cost of living, correct?
We very seldom get a COLA on any other transportation.
So this would, 527 adds that COLA in there, which would get us a little bit more money towards that. Interestingly, SB 328 imposes a statewide mandate that the school day for middle school and high school students not begin before 8:30 a.m. All right? As much as I agree with the concept of starting schools later, we've come to the position that CSBA does not support that because it is an individual school district determination of where they're going to go. So that is not being supported by CSBA. You will probably not see it happen, but you may hear about it. Charter schools, there is legislation left and right for charter schools for more money, for there is a lot for less control. There's also some on the other side too about making them adhere to the Brown Act and that kind of thing. But charter schools have got quite a lobby going on right now. Next slide, please. They talked a little bit about the school board as a leader of the district. Interesting, when I first came here 6 years ago, I got a really nasty email from a person who lived in the district but was a superintendent in another district someplace else, saying that all that the board should do is hire the superintendent and approve the budget. Those are the only two things. And apparently a lot of people had that same direction, but CSBA is pushing back now about the school board setting the tone as the leader of the district, shaping the direction, where we're going. School board member professional development is one of the tools that they're using to try to achieve that. So I'm going to a couple of sessions in September in, what's the name of that city over there by the bay? It's by the bay.
Burlingame.
Burlingame, thank you.
Masters of Government.
Right. So I'm going to two of those classes, one on Friday, one on Saturday. I would encourage you to go to those. It's good information put out. CSBA is also starting a grassroots effort. They have what they call CSBA on the road. And it's a show that goes around with a lot of their people, and they're going to put up presentations around the state. I think they've done 22 of them already. We've got one coming here. You want to mark it on your calendar at the Office of Education on October 2nd. And I'd like to see good representation out there.
Keep us posted on dates. And
I absolutely will get you the times and all of that kind of thing. You might want to put that on there tentatively on your calendar, because it is scheduled. I just don't have all the information yet. Great meeting. Ran into a lot of folks that are having a lot of trouble. CSBA, I think, is a good organization, and they're giving us, they offer a lot of assets. I would encourage you to go to their website and start checking that out. I would also encourage you, highly encourage you, to go to the meeting. I think this year is San Diego, right? Yes, CSBA San Diego.
Yes.
Yeah. I would highly recommend you to go to that. There's some great seminars there. And also there's the interaction with the other board members as well from the state. That's all we've got, unless you have any questions.
Yeah, George, you had the picture on this California school news.
Can you believe that?
I saw that right there. That's beautiful.
It's only cost me $25.
Can't we find you like a social group or something? All right, any questions, comments from the board? Public?
Good report.
Public? All right, thank you very much, Mr. Neely. We are now on report number 5, which would be Dr. Washer on substitutes.
Thank you, Mr. Heberly, members of the board. This is a brief update just on what has occurred since the last board meeting. We had a discussion. There were some issues regarding substitute teachers. So just want to let you know what has transpired since that time. The first slide shows that we did convene an ad hoc committee. We had teachers come and share with us their ideas, their concerns about what's happening with perhaps when substitutes don't show up, and some strategies on what we can do to improve that, which we'll share in a little bit. We did provide a survey to our substitute teachers, and on here, I'm using the term guest teachers to give it a little bit different of a tone. So we did offer a survey to our guest teachers, and I'll share some results about that. We are going to drastically reduce the pullout of teachers from their classroom for district-required professional development next year. PBIS, we still are keeping as a priority because we do have our third cohort that has to receive some training. So we are going to continue with the PBIS, but we are going to drastically reduce the number of times that we are pulling teachers away from the classroom. We do have an orientation for guest teachers coming up in July to give them some information about the district and hopefully prepare them for the assignments. This one has recently changed. We are registered for the Records Virtual Job Fair that was scheduled for June 22 and 23 in hopes of getting the word out in a little different venue about substitute guest teacher positions, opportunities available. We were also going to use that venue for some other positions that are open in our district. However, we just found out that the Record has postponed that due to lack of participation until July 19th and 20th, and those are not good dates for us to be able to man a virtual booth. So we are not sure that we will be able to participate after all. Going on to the next slide, in June and July, we're looking at developing procedures for sites regarding guest teachers, getting some consistency in what we expect in terms of welcoming substitute or site guest teachers, how to address unfilled assignments. We talked to you a little bit about that last time in February, kind of the priority, what do you do first, second, third, if you have an assignment that isn't filled, and our expectations for how to support guest teachers and making sure that they have a good day and that any crucial needs are met for them in their assignment. So I'd like to share a little bit of the input we had from our committee. They had some suggestions. They liked the idea of providing training, improving our welcome process at the sites, providing assistance with behavior issues, having the administrators be sure that they go and visit them and talk to the kids and make sure that the kids know the expectations for behavior. They did talk about the pay rate and making sure that it's in alignment with other surrounding districts. And they did want the trainings reduced that takes teachers away from classroom assignments. They also had an idea about identifying a teacher at every school site to be responsible for helping guest teachers. They talked about having this teacher be compensated at some sort of rate, and that it would be their duty to get there a little early, make sure that the guest teachers know what they're doing, have their lesson plans, check up on them, perhaps help with student issues if that becomes a problem in the day. But someone identified that they could keep an eye on what's going on with guest teachers. As far as the survey goes, we did have all of our guest teachers had the opportunity. We notified them. The site administrators, when they saw them on campus, encouraged them to participate in the survey, and we received 46 responses. When asking them what are some important factors when deciding to take assignments in the district, the top answers were that they were looking at specific schools and grade levels. Some teachers prefer, or some guest teachers prefer elementary, don't want to go to the secondary, vice versa, and some have certain schools that they want to go to, and they will only go to those schools. Where the school is in terms of whether it's Stockton or Lodi, and the pay rate received the next highest scores, and then a specific teacher didn't seem to be that important to them, who exactly the teacher was. All but one of our guest teachers indicated that they do feel welcomed at the schools. All but 4 indicated that they do receive assistance when needed. And several said that they really do enjoy working in the district and had some positive comments to say about their experiences. And then Some suggestions, just took a summary of what they said might help their experience. Lesson plans, of course, and they did talk about being realistic in terms of what's expected, especially in technology. Some of them felt that what was expected of them to do with Chromebooks and technology was not realistic, and perhaps those things should wait for the teacher to return. They like to have materials available in the office, their keys, any maps, any emergency procedures, all of those organizational type things ready for them. One suggestion was to have a teacher leave instructions on the recording that they get with Smart Find Express. They do like when administrators come and personally welcome them and help them during the day. They would appreciate feedback from the administrators on how the day went. Some of them suggested training and assistance with technology and curriculum, especially student behaviors. And then there were some comments about the hiring process being long or cumbersome, but then there was also comments about we need to do a better job screening applicants. So there was, some controversy there in the comments. And then there were some comments about the pay, making sure that it's competitive with local areas. And there were some comments about teachers or guest teachers who do have a teaching credential and have taught for many years, perhaps should be compensated at a higher rate. So that's kind of a summary of what they said in their survey. And then some next steps for us, we'd like to bring you another update in October, looking at the pay rates and see where we stand, give you some site data about what they're doing to improve the environment, any professional development opportunities that we've offered, and how we're doing in terms of unfilled assignments.
Okay. Comments from board members? Okay, go ahead.
We talked about, I sent you some information on getting a waiver.
Yes.
You didn't say that that was not possible. Getting a waiver for teachers that retire, instead of waiting 180 days, you can ask for a waiver to bring them back sooner. I don't know how much that would help our numbers, but maybe a little.
Mr. Daly, Members of the Board, I did look into that a little bit, although I'm not going to say it's not possible. The advice that we've received from legal counsels and looking at what other districts are doing and not doing, it does not appear to be something that folks are advocating that districts do. The waiver is an ed code exemption for the 180-day wait time for a position that is an immediate requirement that cannot be filled any other way than that person that you're giving the waiver for. So to extend that to include day-to-day substitute assignments, the advice we have been given is that is risky. I'm not saying that it can't be done, but that is risky. It's not risky for the district. It's really risky for the person who's doing the assignment, because STRS could come back to them several months later, even longer, and say, that does not meet that requirement, that does not qualify under that ed code, and so we're going to deduct you that pay from your retirement. And at that point, there's really nothing you can do about it. So that's the risk.
What does STRS say about that?
STRS would look at it at a individual basis. I don't believe they've come out and said, we support this or we don't support this.
Maybe we could ask them.
Well, STRS is behind the waiver. They're saying, yeah, you can waive it if it's an absolute needed position.
And who makes that determination?
Well, they will.
Yeah. Well,
they'll look at your situation and say yes or nope.
Then why can't we?
And when they say no, they say it's 6 months after it's been in effect, and then the person who's been doing it gets a letter from STRS saying all the money you received, we're going to dock it dollar for dollar on your retirement. That's the
so we can't take a person and apply to STRS ourselves to get that relief?
You can, but you probably won't hear from them for quite some time.
Have we done this before?
Not the specific thing, no. I asked around the county, nobody in the county is
Mr.
doing
Neely, STRS is notorious with their auditors coming back even more than 6 months, even up to 2 years, and in their audits. And if that auditor finds, and as Mr. McKilligan said, then the teacher would be charged dollar for dollar that they earned. They only process after that point in time for the individual teachers an appeal to their board, and it will harm the teacher. It won't harm the district, but it will harm the teacher if in fact they decide that even though we ask for the waiver, they disallow it.
Okay.
Yep. Well, it seems to me that we could ask for a specific teacher, can we get a waiver from this teacher to teach this class? And we can get that.
Well, it would be different than, the way I look at it, is it'd be different if you're providing a substitute for a vacancy in a position as to a sick leave or something, wouldn't it? Because there's immediate need. We don't have a teacher for that position. I mean, I would.
But they're going to look at it versus the requirements for the job and how many jobs like that are there, how many people are there out there doing it. So looking at a substitute, they're going to say the requirements are pretty low. There's a lot of people out there that meet that, and it's not really in their mind a critical need. This waiver right here, this right here is intended for special ed director. You don't have one, there's not many around, and there's not many qualified to do it. You're more likely to be able to do this waiver and have a special ed director, not your own, do it from your district. So if you got one retiring here and one retiring over here, you can go over here and within the 180 days, and STRS will probably allow that to happen because there aren't many special people that are qualified to be special ed directors, and it will be viewed as a critical position, which is hard to fill. There aren't many people available. So like the number there are in the state.
And I've heard what they don't like in that example is that the special ed director from Lodi Unified retires and then we bring them back.
That's not allowed.
That's not allowed specifically.
It actually states it in there when he's talking about it.
Okay, yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
They don't like it.
I just want to say, Kathy, great job on this presentation. You've done everything that we want to do with guest teachers. You know, if you can go far and beyond and all that other stuff. But the most important thing that you mentioned there is that substitute or guest teacher comes in and is greeted by the principal. I've heard so many substitutes. I go there and nobody there can greet me and I'm lost and I don't know where the room is and all that. If that would happen, boy, they will come back to that school and they would attract some guest teachers. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Mr. Nall was right. I think that's a pretty critical element. I don't know if this has to be the principal, but it has to be somebody that's influential, principal secretary or somebody along that line.
Principal. That's true.
The only comment that I have is that on the list of things that people suggested to improve, I've heard it now twice, is that two things. One is that the application process is very cumbersome. And the second one is that it would be very helpful for the candidate to come in and we would hand them a sheet and say, here is all that you need. We may have that, I don't know. Because they think they've got everything, they turn it in, they hear, well, where's Form X? Well, I don't know, I don't have it. And then they have to go back home, do Form X, bring it back. So those would be the only two things that I have heard that were also on there, and I'm just kind of reinforcing that would be something to kind of look into to make it easier to get them here. Bonnie, anything?
No, I just thank you for the report, Dr. Washer.
Okay, anything? Yes.
Our pay rate is in line with the other districts. You took care of that already, right? Our pay for substitutes is already in line.
Yeah, when we raised it, so did everybody else.
I mean,
same year.
Are you serious?
We all raised it.
Above ours?
No, it's varying degrees, but I mean, I think we're fairly competitive. But
okay.
The one that's way above everybody's Stockton, but they still can't fill their slots.
Yeah, they can't get them. I don't care what.
It's a whole different issue.
I think we should look at it again and be competitive.
So we were ahead of our time for a while.
It seemed like we had some problems at the end of this year with them not realizing that they're renewable one-year contracts. And when we sent out the notice, we had the group that were shocked once again. So maybe somewhere during the hiring process, you will have to be terminated on March.
It's hard for people to remember 9 months later.
I know. I know.
Okay.
But we'll keep communicating.
I know.
Any
I
other
appreciate it.
comments from?
Very nice report.
Thank you, Ron. Comments from the public on this item?
President Irby, I want to comment, and I heard your comment, there's got to be something we can do. There is talk in Sacramento for legislation to correct this problem, I think through CSBA and the delegate assembly, and also I know we have our legislative committee that we keep pushing our legislative folks to change this rule. It really doesn't make any sense in this time that we have to wait 6 months for those people who would like to do substitute teaching. They still would have their cap, they only can earn the dollar amount, and it certainly would help.
It's the 30-day rule that we need to change.
Yeah, the 30-day rule too. And those would all be great things and that would help, and apparently they haven't heard it. There might be a teacher shortage in California. Anything else? Are you coming up, Michelle?
Yes.
Okay.
I could probably use my teacher voice on that. Again, I hear from members that the teacher crisis, the shortage, is influencing the substitute shortage. Many members came to that committee, were happy about the information that they were able to provide. It was great seeing it on the examples up here. What I keep hearing is the competitive salary and the cumbersome application process, as they describe it to be cumbersome. So, any streamlining that we could do and to make us back more competitive with our neighbors where those teachers are going, with hybrids, gas is less of a need, and they can travel a little bit farther. So let's do everything we can to get those subs in our district.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the applications. I have not looked at it, but that's what I heard too, so.
Part of the application is state mandated. You have to do the background checks, you have to pass this, you have to, so meaning the fingerprinting and just.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
We have to make sure the right people are on our campus.
Mr. Neely.
I brought up this problem with the substitutes at the delegate convention. They were like, we don't have to worry about that 30-day thing.
What?
Seriously, I'll tell you, people were shocked that I was bringing that up.
That's
bizarre. I'm just telling you.
Yes, due to the county.
Okay, are there any board advisory committee reports?
No.
Future agenda items?
No.
We will not go back to closed session, so therefore meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. Bye, Bonnie. Take care. Be safe.
Bye, Bonnie. Until next Tuesday.
Stay warm. Enjoy. Bye.
You didn't say anything about next Tuesday. Come on.
Okay, no coats, no ties. We're going to shorts. Shorts and flip-flops. We're going to Lions.
Yeah, there you go.
And my ties.
We're back. Everybody's not getting much better. We were 112, 113 down here, and now we come down here 105.
Other than that, it's great. Lost it. We'll work on it,
Yeah, that, oh, absolutely.
See, it wasn't that bad.
Oh, I thought this was.
Oh, here you go. See, I thought there was other things that needed to be signed that I need to back in this. Oh, here it is. This is what I was looking for. Okay, good.
There's a lot of. You don't need my script.